Good morning, and welcome to our sermon series, To Kill a Mockingbird. This is Atticus Finch, hero or saint. Atticus Finch is an iconic figure in American literature for all the right reasons. Whether in film or on the page, his character demands our attention. He is a successful lawyer, loving father, and moral compass for his community. Essentially, Atticus seems to be a superhero who fights for truth, justice, and the American way. We are endeared to superheroes, at least many of us. I've been giddy at the prospect of the new Spider Man movie, and I am waiting with bated breath for the next Avengers movie. What endears us to superheroes isn't necessarily their commitment to good. Rather, it's their ability to overcome adversity while maintaining a consistent moral code. I think of Martin Luther King Jr. when he says, "Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can." MLK had plenty of reasons to be bitter or angry or hateful, and it's reasonable to believe that he had times when he felt that way. But in the end, he gave his life believing and living out that love is the driving force to healing. Atticus Finch is given an impossible case. Well, actually, he was given quite a simple case. In that time and era, he very well could have convinced his client to plead guilty or given a lackluster performance. The end result was all but assured. A white man accused a black man of attacking his white daughter. There's nothing more to be said. But Atticus refused to. Atticus knows that he is going to lose Tom's case, but he fully embraces Tom's defense anyway. And his commitment comes at a price for him and his family. The children are mocked at school. Atticus is spit on. The family becomes target of revenge. And yet Atticus stays the course. He fights the good fight for justice, but his work is counterculture to our image of a hero. And in fact, Atticus is more of a saint. We Christians, like Atticus, are not called to be heroes. We are called to be saints. Have you considered this difference between heroes and saints? Rather than hero, maybe a better word to use would be champion. Hero often makes us think of first responders, police, and military, and their work is heroic and definitely not counter to the work we do in the church. Atticus Finch is a man of compassion, justice, and courage, but he's no hero. Heroes live for glory and honor. Heroes vanquish enemies through strength and power. They live for battle. Hercules is a hero. Achilles is a hero. Though Atticus is an outstanding fictional model of courage, he's no hero. He's a saint. The word hero appears rarely in Scripture. However, saint appears 64 times in the New Testament. So let's examine it. What's the difference between hero and saint? There are 4 differences between these two: who the story is about, why the story is told, what the story takes for granted, and when the story goes wrong. First, there's the difference in the stories they tell. The hero's story is a story in which everything is going poorly, and the hero has to step in and make everything right. In short, the hero's story is about the hero and his or her accomplishments. The saint, on the other hand, is not the center of attention and doesn't always fix the problem at hand. Atticus steps in to defend Tom Robinson, not because he thinks he's going to win. In fact, he's pretty sure he won't, but because it's the right thing to do. Fundamentally, the hero's story is about the hero. The saint's story is really a story about God. And in the case of Atticus, his story proclaims that all are made in the image of God. Atticus talks about how he hopes his children won't catch the town's, quote, usual disease of racism. All deserve compassion, justice, and grace, from the innocent Tom Robinson to the malevolent Bob Ewell. The second distinction between hero and saint is the question of why the story is told. The hero story is told to celebrate the virtues of the hero's strength or wisdom or sense of timing. The saint's story is told to point out a truth independent of the saint. It is told to celebrate the gift of faith. Atticus could have challenged Bob Ewell more. He could have called more witnesses about the Ewell family character. He could have even pandered to the racism of the time and said that Tom didn't know any better. But Atticus's strength is not invincibility or superhuman intellect. His strength is in his belief that hate and bigotry will not win in the end. Atticus isn't trying to show off his own cleverness in the courtroom. Rather, his arguments point to hope, a hope that things can be better, that the people, that we can be better. Although it's not said outright, Atticus's strength comes from the cross. Jesus accepted the cross and through death defeated death. It's like taking a case you know you will lose so the injustice will have a light shone on it. It may win this battle, but not the war. The third difference between the hero and the saint is what the story takes for granted. The hero's story assumes conflict is necessary to prove that good is more powerful than evil. The saint's story assumes that nonviolence is the way to show that good will prevail. There are many times Atticus meets violence with nonviolence. But the most notable is when Atticus is sitting outside the jail in a rocking chair reading a paper. He knows there's a good chance a lynch mob will appear, and he's right. There are 3 cars full of men drive up with guns in their hands. They ask Atticus to step aside and let them mete out justice to Tom Robinson the way they think is fit. Atticus refuses. He stands his ground. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the absence of self. He offers himself open and honest instead of a fight. When Jesus is being arrested, one of the disciples draws a sword and cuts off the ear of a member of the group. Jesus heals the ear and says, "No more of this." He heals the man who had come to harm him. Finally, the difference between hero and saint is what happens when the story goes wrong. The hero must win. If the hero fails, all will be lost. The saint shows that through weakness we find strength in God. My grace is sufficient for you, says 2 Corinthians 12:9. Atticus's main hope is that Tom Robinson may be acquitted in a higher court, and also that a loss in Macomb County will shine a powerful light of truth into a dark and systemic issue. In the church, we also must redefine our understanding of success. Success is not lots of members or money, though these things can help ministry. Success is measured ultimately by transformation. If the hero fails, then everything fails. The saint celebrates the transformation that always happens when God is made the focus. We may win or lose in the eyes of the world, but we know God can transform anything for the good according to God's will. Romans 8:28. The saints in my life have been my grandmothers and a very special couple I've talked about before. Deb and Mark Morrison. They spent their time taking carloads of kids to FCA camp each year. Were they perfect? No, of course not. But they were present. They lost their lives far too soon in a car accident. The combined funeral had to be held in the school gym to accommodate everyone who wanted to honor them. Life's not fair. They deserved to live, to see their kids get married and meet their grandchildren. They didn't win at life, but they won at living. Through them, many kids found their way to God. Through them, a young, scared 19-year-old mom strengthened her relationship with God and went on to be your pastor. Who are your saints? Who have you watched and cheered on? Who has inspired you with their actions and words? Jesus is not the hero of his story. He's not a rich genius or a suave playboy. Jesus' life was not about how strong he was or how much might or power he had, though he is powerful. No. Jesus' story is a story of a saint, a story of humility, grace, and love. What's your story about?